Fortunately, the United States has done very well since Election Day last November 8th. We meet at a time of both immense promise and great peril. We must reject threats to sovereignty from the Ukraine to the South China Sea. We must work together and confront together those who threaten us with chaos, turmoil, and terror. No one has shown more contempt for other nations and for the well-being of their own people than the depraved regime in North Korea. It is an outrage that some nations would not only trade with such a regime, but would arm, supply, and financially support a country that imperils the world with nuclear conflict. The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea. The Iranian government masks a corrupt dictatorship behind the false guise of a democracy. The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. Frankly, that deal is an embarrassment to the United States, and I don't think you've heard the last of it, believe me. We will stop radical Islamic terrorism. We seek the de-escalation of the Syrian conflict and a political solution that honors the will of the Syrian people. Out of the goodness of our hearts, we offer financial assistance to hosting countries in the region, and we support recent agreements of the G20 nations that will seek to host refugees as close to their home countries as possible. For the receiving countries, the substantial costs of uncontrolled migration are borne overwhelmingly by low-income citizens whose concerns are often ignored. It is a massive source of embarrassment to the United Nations that some governments with egregious human rights records sit on the UN Human Rights Council. The American people hope that one day soon the United Nations can be a much more accountable and effective advocate for human dignity and freedom around the world. In the meantime, we believe that no nation should have to bear a disproportionate share of the burden. We will not lift sanctions on the Cuban government until it makes fundamental reforms. We have also imposed tough, calibrated sanctions on the socialist Maduro regime in Venezuela, which has brought a once thriving nation to the brink of total collapse. As a responsible neighbor and friend, we and all others have a goal. That goal is to help them regain their freedom, recover their country, and restore their democracy. Wherever true socialism or communism has been adopted, it has delivered anguish and devastation and failure. There can be no substitute for strong, sovereign, and independent nations. Do we love our nations enough to protect their sovereignty and to take ownership of their futures? We will fight together, sacrifice together, and stand together for peace.